welcome back to the land of bourbon and bad decisions. I have internet this week. Yeah! I'm really excited because last week my internet took a giant, colossal dump, and so I couldn't do squat. I was actually trying to use hotspot on my phone to broadcast it, and no one could hear a darn thing I was saying, so hopefully that's not the case this week. So, yeah, the last couple weeks, oh my God, it's just been absolutely insane. I really wish I could get into everything from the last 2 weeks. Unfortunately, my memory span is neither that good, nor do I have enough time in the allotted hour to be able to do this. Although I could go longer than an hour, I have other things to do, like sleep. Sleep is good. So, anyways, the last week has been insane. Tearing down statues, an autonomous zone in Washington. What the hell is that all about? Anybody? Bueller? Anyone? And just trying to get caught up on everything. And, the race baiting. I mean, there's the, apparently no news is good news in the world of NASCAR. I mean, we have that going for us. Last weekend, Bubba Wallace found a noose in his drive. Well, not Bubba Wallace, but a member of his team had allegedly found a noose inside his garage. Oh my goodness. And it turns out that, no, not actually a noose. It's just a hand pull for the garage door. So like I said, no noose is good news. And the crazy part is everyone is just so quick to jump on all these bandwagons of, oh my God, he used the word white, he's a white supremacist. No, I was describing the color of the eggshells that are white. Do you not like the brown eggs? What is wrong with you? And it's absolutely just completely asinine. And to show how woke the world is getting when it comes to race, and this article from the Church Militant, New York City Planned Parenthood fires leader. Dropped for abusive behavior, racism, and financial mismanagement. Although I'm willing to bet they allowed a lot of that to go unchecked just because, it's Planned Parenthood. But then she said something naughty. Ooh. New York, this from churchmilitant.com. Planned Parenthood has announced the firing of its New York City president and CEO after complaints of financial mismanagement, racism, and abusive staff. Laura McQuaid was given her walking papers by the abortion giant on Monday after a rash of complaints by current and former Planned Parenthood employees. McQuaid had led Planned Parenthood Greater New York City since 2017 after heading the Planned Parenthood Great Plains facility located in Kansas City, Missouri. Not anymore. Last week, the Board of New York affiliate issued an apology for certain institutional failures, but said that it, quote, fully supports the work and leadership of Laura McQuaid and her team and commits to continuing the transformation that will make us a stronger, more equitable organization for our staff and communities, end quote. But by Monday, however, the Kansas City Star was reporting, and this is an excerpt from the Star, the former CEO of Planned Parenthood's Kansas City area office has stepped down as the head of the abortion provider's largest affiliate following allegations of abusive behavior and systemic racism from current and former staff. The board of Planned Parenthood Greater New York announced on Monday that two staff members that it had parted ways with President and CEO Laura McQuaid, according to an internal memo obtained by the Star, before taking the reins of the New York office, blah, 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 blah. And basically, according to the New York letter, quote, dozens of staff members have witnessed McQuaid yell, berate, slam her fist, verbally abuse, humiliate, and bully employees, often brutally shaming staff members in internal meetings in front of their colleagues. Like, who hasn't been berated in front of their colleagues at some point or another? I mean, I was in the military. Getting berated in front of colleagues is kind of a common occurrence, but I guess, in a world where everyone's supposed to be all kind and sensitive, you just don't tell someone they're a colossal screw-up in front of all their co-workers. You don't want them judging you. But, again, it says racism in here, and unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything, oh, wait. Many pro-lifers say it's not surprising. But I guess maybe she said some things that were naughty and said some racist things during her beratings. It doesn't say anything in the article, but the irony is that an organization founded by a noted eugenicist and racist garbage piece of trash, Margaret Sanger, would fire its CEO or CEO of one of its chapters for towing the party line, so to speak, and holding really abusive and horrible opinions of someone based on their race. I mean, come on. I mean, shouldn't they be trying to promote her if she's walking in lockstep with Margaret Sanger? One would think. But like I said, in this world where everything is racist and oh my gosh, this is awful. And what's really crazy is, you start looking at some of the people who they support. Again, this is a Planned Parenthood person who, by all accounts, if she's spouting racist tripe, she should be being held up on the same level as Margaret Sanger. But in an act of pure hypocrisy, Margaret Sanger will never, ever, ever be dismissed by these nut jobs because of her. Because, I mean, she has these wonderful, wonderful, uplifting opinions of blacks, of those whom she called human weeds, who she openly advocated for the elimination and destruction of, as well as those people who, just seem to constantly be reproducing and making more and more children. Like, say, I don't know, the Catholics. Because, the Catholic faith is kind of anti-birth control. Mental defectives. Idiots, I believe, is one of the words that was quite common to describe those who were not on the same cognitive plane as their peers. These are the kind of people that she hated. She hated the poor. She hated people from large families. She hated black people. She hated Jews. She believed only the absolute best of humanity should be allowed to have children and reproduce, because we don't need human weeds running around. Yeah. And meanwhile, all this stuff that fully puts her on the pedestal of one of the worst human beings to live, it gets glossed over by her supporters. That's like the late West Virginia Senator Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd was a very, he was the leader of his local KKK chapter. I know a lot of people like to go, oh, he was a grand wizard of the KKK. No, he wasn't a grand wizard, but he did lead his local chapter. Oh, I just want to give a shout out to those people who are currently in the room. See who we got here. Peachy, she's in the room. Stacy, Sean, Tony, thank you all for joining me in this wonderful land of, well, it's not bourbon and bad decisions. It's rye whiskey and bad decisions tonight, but thank you for joining me. So you have people like Robert Byrd, noted racist and KKK member. I actually had a discussion on the Book of Faces with a former teacher of mine when someone posted a meme about Robert Byrd being a Grand Wizard of the KKK. Again, fact-checking shows that he wasn't the Grand Wizard. But she was very adamant to defend Robert Byrd. Well, he renounced his racism and he did all these things to make things better for African Americans and blah 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 blah. I'm like, wait, hold on. So what you're saying is, in the world of cancel culture, if someone has bad ideas, bad opinions based on race or someone's sexual identity, sexual preference, and that they evolve past that, they progress, if you may, and have a more conforming opinion later on because, I don't know, they found Jesus, they found Allah, Buddha, whomever. They had a worldview shift that goes, not liking those people for X reason is ignorant and stupid, and I now accept them because a higher power, be it God, be it the universe, whatever, calls me to love everybody. We shouldn't cancel those people. I'm sure if I brought up John Rocker, I'm sure there's a Braves fan out there somewhere who just perked their ears up at that. I'm sure if, John Rocker were to try to get back into baseball of any reason, they'd pull up some old statements about homosexuals, and he would be canceled almost immediately. All right. Let's see. Tony says, look, wearing blackface 20 years ago for a comedy sketch is way worse than being a reformed KKK supporter, clearly. Yeah, because right now, Fallon is doing the apology tour because of his Chris Rock impersonation. That was really good, by the way. He hit the voice structure and everything. But then there's Kimmel. Well, I think Kimmel's was just so mean-spirited about it too. I can't even find anything funny. I mean, make fun of the way Karl Malone talks because Karl Malone likes to speak about Karl Malone in the third person. I mean, I've never really found Kimmel to be all that funny anyways, but even then, I doubt that blackface 20, 30 years ago for a comedy bit, it probably won't be biting them in the ass for too long. I mean, look at Justin Trudeau. I mean, he was reelected to Prime Minister of Canada. Ralph Northam, they're in the United Soviet Socialist Republic of Virginia. I mean, he got reelected, and honestly, though, it's really hard to tell who's who in that famous picture of him. Is he the guy in blackface, or is he the guy wearing the Klan hood? Sean says he loves rye whiskey and rants. So do I. However, it does parse the throat a little bit. But it just the canceling of people just because. I mean, I couldn't find a better person to cancel than a CEO of Planned Parenthood chapter. That's just me, because, Black Lives Matter, unless they're still in the womb or they're being killed by other black people, or looters are destroying black businesses, or they're being killed off by each other in a city that doesn't do anything to really try stopping it. And I said Black Lives Matter, except for all of those. Peachy says that she would cancel Alyssa Milano in a heartbeat. Cancel means kick her ass, right? Sure. If that's what it means to you, I mean, by all means, you do you, boo-boo. You do you. And it's the insanity of everything that's going on. I mean, you can't even post memes on Facebook anymore because you get fact-checked. Someone on the Relentless Daring fan page on Facebook, he posted a meme about how Hitler was pro defund the police. And it's like, I'm a free speech guy. It's like, I'm not sure how factual that is, but I'm not gonna bust on anyone's balls for it, just because people are okay. That's being a little too generous, but generally speaking, people are kind of smart. They can look at stuff and kind of figure out, maybe that's not exactly accurate, and they can make their own decision if they want to believe it or not. Well, USA Today had to get involved and had to stick their nose into it. Well, because what he had shared with the fan page was that it was actually shared from someone else from their place on Facebook. So the original post got fact checked, and then everywhere it was shared, it got picked up with the fact check. And so then it's like, wait. Yeah, I kind of got a little angry with Facebook and about coming in. Let's see, clean this up. Richard's a swinging about how if me and the other admins aren't working to better police our group, they will shut it down. It's like, really? We're grown-ups here. I mean, if we want to share stuff that may or may not be true, that's on us. We don't need Facebook coming in and going, oh my gosh, that's bad. I mean, they threatened to remove one of my admins because apparently at some point she had shared a COVID-19 meme that was uncouth, and we just can't have that on Facebook. Oh, really? Come on. It's absolute insanity. And it's getting to the point where when they fact check stuff, they're fact checking true things. It's from Media Research Center. The USA Today fact check seeks to cover up racist Democrat history of 1964. Independent fact checkers can easily be mistaken for Democrats who don't want you to remember Democrat history. USA Today threw a false flag at this Facebook meme, causing it to be fairly unreadable to people scrolling past it. And the meme is just a blank screen and white lettering. In 1964, on the floor of the U.S. Senate, Democrats held the longest filibuster in our nation's history. 75 days, all trying to prevent the passing of one thing: the Civil Rights Act. And they fact check it because it wasn't really 75 days. It was only 60. The egregiousness of this error.
No, you look like an idiot.
Because the meme maker didn't get the number days right. Oh my gosh. It's like when I got beat up on Twitter because I accused Jason Kander of losing the wrong political office. He was running for Senate, and I accused him of losing the governor's race. And I'm still, my my pride and my ego were somewhat bruised because apparently certain people on the interwebs, they have crazy followers. And Jason Kander proved to be a fairly classy guy. I apologize because, oh my goodness, I am sorry. I was kind of overseas and there was a lot of stuff going on at the time, so I conflated your race with somebody else's. My bad. And he was classy about it. He extended grace because, people make mistakes, but oh my God, his followers lost their damn minds. I didn't think it was ever going to end. Stacy says, I wonder how they would react if we fact checked them and banned them for fake news. Well, that's just it, is they have no sense of self-awareness, so they wouldn't really care if we fact check them because, there's a guy I listen to. Right now his motto is assumed you're being lied to, so they just wouldn't accept it and just go on. Tony makes a good point. Some people on the internet have crazy followers. Says the man with us as followers. Different kind of crazy followers, I guess. Well, yeah, it's a huge difference in crazy followers. Because you're not rabid about it. You don't come in necessarily guns a-blazing and just constantly rip down and try to humiliate somebody because they got a fact wrong. And most of y'all, and I say most, are fairly, sane when it comes to, hey, you said something I have a completely different worldview about. I'm going to debate you, and if I don't agree with you or we can't come to some sort of agreement, I'll just mute you. Or if you're going to be a complete ass, I'll block you. And then you go on with your life. You don't sit and harass and harangue. You don't find people's iTunes ratings and reviews and try to drag them down. Yes, that actually happened. My only 1-star review. Whatever. I still love you. Even though you don't love me, I still love you. Anyways, now that the train has completely come off the rails, USA Today's Rachel Riley admitted that Southern Democrats filibustered for 60 days, not 75. But not all Democrats filibustered, so it was partly false. A June 20th, 1964 New York City Daily News article about the passage said 46 Democrats and 27 Republicans were in favor of the bill, while 21 Democrats, all from southern or border states, which we still had border states in 1964? I'm pretty sure the whole border thing went out the window like 99 years earlier when, Lee signed the surrender at Appomattox. But what do I know? History. They listed Democrats like Strom Thurmond, who later became a Republican. Yes, in the great swapping of the Dixiecrats to the Republican Party, in which two politicians from federal, state, or local office changed party affiliation because, it'd be easier to get reelected. But, again, how dare I look at a history book? They said they listed Strom Thurmond, but left out some familiar names, such as Senator Albert Gore Sr. of Tennessee. This back before his son invented the internet. But this meme had to be flagged for fact abuse. Our ruling, partly false. It is true that Democrats hold the record for the longest filibuster, but there are a couple of aspects of the exact claim that are false or misleading. It wasn't 75 days. It lasted only 60 days. And there should be a distinction made in exactly who was blocking the bill. The majority of Democrats who opposed the 1964 Civil Rights Act were from southern states. Some Democrats in non-southern states did support the bill. Like, really? This is why it's maddening that authoritative, that's in quotes, so I had to do a voice to mock it, news outlets end up blocking or obscuring social media posts over, quote, distinctions, end quote, that remind voters, some of whom aren't very wise about 1964, the Democrats used to have a pile of staunch racists in their caucus. And if you really stop and think about it, how many people on the left now, they engage in something known as white condescension. That, you go back and you look at the Aunt Jemima thing. Yeah, well, black people they just don't know. They're being made a mockery of with Aunt Jemima. Because the name Aunt Jemima comes from minstrel shows of the late 1800s where they made fun of black people. You had white people in blackface making fun of black people with the steppin' fetchin' kind of comedy acts. So we have to step in on their behalf. Or you see, Native Americans really, they don't understand that Washington Redskins, Atlanta Braves, Florida Seminoles, all these names are horribly offensive to Native Americans. Meanwhile, the Native Americans are like, really, bruh? Seriously? Right now, we can't get crap from the federal government for the reservation, but y'all out there, fighting on our behalf over the name of a football team. You have African Americans who, by and large, consume and purchase Aunt Jemima syrup more than any other ethnic group. I mean, it is the top-selling brand of pancake syrup that we have on the economy right now. I mean, I think it sells 3 times more volume than its closest competitor. African Americans, on a scale of 200, rate Aunt Jemima syrup at 197. They give it a nearly perfect score. But obviously, they have to just be too dumb to realize that they're being made fun of. Forget the fact that Nancy Green, the former slave turned actress who was hired at the Chicago World's Fair to use this new self-rising pancake mix, cook and sell pancakes, tell stories. She was so popular, she was the first person of any race, ethnicity, background to become a living trademark. Long before Colin Kaepernick's cop-hating face was being used to sell Nike shoes. Long before Michael Jordan was selling Hanes and Big Macs. Long before Tiger Woods set foot inside of a Buick. Nancy Green was the first living trademark. She was one of the first black millionaires in this country, and she started life as a slave. But, we have crazy liberal, upper middle class, liberal, college-educated yuppies who go around telling people what they should and should not be offended by, which I frankly find offensive. But if you tell them, you don't have the right to tell me what I should be offended by. There was a couple videos that came out of crazy white ladies going full-fledged Karen, yelling at black police officers about how they're part of the institutional racist system. They're not doing anything to help the system because they're part of it. Therefore, they're racist against their own race. Tony says, listen, woke feelings don't care about your facts. Damn Skippy they don't. But then again, facts don't care about woke feelings. And you can have woke feelings all day long. The facts are still going to win out. Now, whether you accept those facts, which in one of those videos of, crazy woke white lady yelling at black cops, I mean, the cops were even trying to talk to her, not as a cop out there doing his duty and a crazy-ass protester, but as one person to another. And the cops eventually said, you know what? What you're doing right now, because anytime I try to say anything to you, you're just screaming at me. You're being run by pure emotion at this point. We cannot have a conversation because all you want to do is yell. All you're wanting to do is look for the fight. And it's sad when you get to the point where you can't have a conversation with people who are like that. There's many times where I have friends on various political bents. I have friends who are uber libertarian, and even though we agree on like 80% of things, you get into that 20% areas, and it's like, I'm going to do my best to have a civil conversation, but you just need to settle down just a smidge, okay? You're getting a little worked up here. I have crazy leftist friends. A lot of stuff we agree on. We agree hating black people because they're black is wrong. We agree that hating gay people for the fact that they're gay is wrong. However, where we differ is, what do we do? They believe in a huge government. A government can control everything and blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, well, it's a heart thing. More people need to reach out and talk to those they don't know, they don't agree with their lifestyles, or they're just ignorant. Ignorance is cured by knowledge. Unless it's willful ignorance in which you don't care what information you have, you're never going to respond to it. Tony says, proven fact, yelling at someone about how oppressed they are when you've never shared their experience makes you more experienced and gives you moral authority. Read it on the internet. Yes, and as Abraham Lincoln once said, everything you read on the internet is true. And it's absolutely insane that people cannot have discussions outside of emotion-driven garbage. I would love to have more rational reason conversations with some of my leftist friends. A lot of times, though, they're into the arguments driven on pure emotion and emotion alone. And then I'm not immune to it. I'll be the first to admit that there's times where I get into emotionally driven states where I have to stop and take a breath because I realize, oh my gosh, I sound as stupid as they do. Sitting and yelling over the dumbest thing, and pulling a them move and resorting to ad hominems and name calling. I will take a short break and I will be right back. This is Tyler from Relentless Daring, and I am launching the brand new RelentlessDaring.com merch shop. Instead of having to go to a third-party vendor, now you can do everything right there at RelentlessDaring.com. If you want to buy merch, go to RelentlessDaring.com/shop, and there you can get hats, you can get t-shirts, you can get hoodies, you can get coffee cups, you can get stickers. Go there today to show your love for the Relentless Daring podcast, and as always, stay relentless. All right, so getting back into it. Wow, came in. I had my mic turned up. It's a little hot, and I was yelling in my own ears. But so another thing is like all the Antifa people. Well, we all know Antifa exists. We've all seen the crowds of black bloc wearing, communist flag waving nincompoops out there on the streets and taking over Seattle, Portland, blah, 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 blah. Well, you can't help but come across stupid people. An article from today, it's from townhall.com. Jerry Nadler, while in the House Judiciary Committee, claimed that Antifa doesn't exist. I'm just going to let that sink in there for a second. Jerry Nadler made the claim that Antifa does not exist. I believe there's an issue when you don't believe the things that are made plain. You know, like again, I'm looking at a picture right now that's, some white middle-class yuppie dressed in black bloc literally has a red hammer and sickle on it painted onto a sign on his chest, and a whole group of these white middle-class yuppies who say they're all out there, well, we're anti-fascist. Well, no, you're just a communist. And anything right of Lenin and Marx and Mao, they're all fascists from your point of view. And then another history lesson. The founder of fascism as we know it, Juan Benito Mussolini, prior to World War I, was one of the leading socialist scholars and thought leaders in Europe. Then World War I happened, and soldiers on the front line, they didn't talk about how we're the workers fighting against the oppressive imperialists in Austria. No. They were proud Italians fighting for Italy against the imperialist Austro-Hungarian Empire. And Mussolini, the young, bright officer that he was, went, so maybe I can take my socialism that I 100% agree with, but instead of focusing on exporting it and all of the workers uniting, because people aren't fighting for their social class, they're fighting for their country, so I'll wrap it up in nationalism. So it's a collective effort, kind of like a fasci, which was a reinforced battle axe that had a bunch of sticks bound around it. So that way, because it's stronger together, it's collectivism. But again, who cares about history when you can, and opening a book and doing some basic rudimentary study, when you just go, yeah, man, you're a bunch of fascist, you fascist pig, man. Damn hippies. Anywho's, during his speech on the House floor Thursday afternoon, Democratic Congressman and House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler claimed Antifa is imaginary. Antifa does exist, and the loosely affiliated organization of anarchists has done significant damage in the country. In a letter to Attorney General Bill Barr Friday morning, a dozen House Republicans are detailing the violent actions of the group and encouraging the Department of Justice to continue prosecutions of members who break the law. Quote, as you may know, Antifa groups have had a long history of violent protests under which they have caused direct harm to anyone critical of their beliefs. For example, last summer, a photojournalist who was a harsh critic of Antifa groups was beaten by an Antifa mob on a public street. The photojournalist posed no physical threat to the group and was simply capturing footage during a Portland Antifa demonstration, the letter states. That'd be Mr. Andy No. Tony says, Antifa? Imaginary? Oh, good! All those statues they pulled down or cruises they burned and businesses looted and defaced are fine. Yes, absolutely. You get all those, like the Colonel Haig Memorial in Madison, Wisconsin. You know, an immigrant came here, saw that slavery was a horrible thing, and literally died fighting against slavery when he was shot and killed while leading the charge at the Battle of Chickamauga in Georgia. Yeah, they tore down his statue, decapitated it, and threw the pieces into the lake. Which just goes and tells me that Antifa is a bunch of xenophobic bastards. Because, they freaked out and they tore down the statue of an immigrant. Those hater McHater faces. Or if you're a fan of the Pat Gray show on The Blaze, they are hating hate mongers mongering in hate. Peachy says, yep, it was all a dream. Cue the dream sequence. I don't have any dream sequence sounds.
No, you look like an idiot.
And my producer's being an a-hole. Thank you, producer. But, it just goes on the letters. More recently, in 2019, during an Antifa protest outside the Tacoma Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, Washington, an armed 68-year-old man attacked a police officer. The armed man placed his arms around the officer in an attempt to choose him? Hey, I'm trying to figure out who copied this letter over. I'm assuming that's supposed to be attempt to choke him. So another protester would be freed. Later, police found explosives and weapons in his bag. I believe that dude was actually killed in the process. But, all the evidence that they exist. Peachy, I wasn't calling you an idiot. That was my producer calling me an idiot because I don't have the right music.
No, you look like an idiot.
Stop that. I can't get... As I look in the mirror, I just can't help but wonder why I can't get good help in here. Seriously, my producer's an idiot. But they come out and say these groups don't exist, even though they don't exist. Why do they have Facebook pages? Why do they have Twitter accounts? Why do they go around banners declaring themselves as Antifa and calling anyone who disagrees with them a bunch of fascist pigs and proceed to try to kill them? Oh my goodness. It's just absolutely stunning and mind-boggling about facts that are plainly available, like, I don't know, turning on the news. I guess if you're a 90-year-old fat piece of crap congressman from New York, I guess you only watch one one news source where you have people like Ali Velshi going out there and standing in front of a burning building. Well, as you could tell, the protests are mostly peaceful. It's like, wait, I just watched a dude firebomb the car behind you, and you're telling me these are mostly peaceful protests? Do I look stupid to you? Don't answer that. Tony, stop. I already know what you're going to say. It doesn't work. But it's absolutely insane the times we're going through. I'm hoping and praying that everything kind of slows down. Tony says, whoa, I wasn't going to say anything. Uh-huh. I know how you chair force people are. Always out there trying to make fun of everyone who's, you have to do real military work. Acting like you're so good because your fancy hair and, the fact you're Air Force. We say, when I was in the Army, we said words like hooah, which makes absolutely no sense. Meanwhile, in the Air Force, they say other fancy things like, ow, I got paper cut. I know, I'm alienating my Air Force listeners. I know. The inter-service picking and badgering of each other, that's what we do. We do it in fun. We do it because we love each other so very much. But I don't know. I'm just hoping and praying that all this settles down and that maybe we can deal with it in a constructive way that doesn't involve like a $14.7 trillion proposal from Robert Johnson from BET Network. That apparently that's the perfect number for reparations. $14.7 trillion, because the approximately $23 trillion that we paid out from the Great Society from LBJ back in the 60s, that wasn't enough. But, because it's everything, the war on drugs, war on poverty, the war on war, all these things is just a continual money pit in which the federal government, we really can't afford it. So now we're going to borrow the money. And now they're not even borrowing money. They said, screw it, fire at the printing presses, modern monetary theory, baby. We print it and we say it's $1 worth $1. And who cares about this thing called inflation? All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for me tonight. Now I've completely alienated my audience. I've made fun of the Air Force guys who listened to the show, all 2 of you. It's okay, I still love you. I only kid because I care. Oh, I have elicited quite the response from Tony, and I'm going to share it with the podcast listeners. Hey now, I've helped your Army buddies out more than a few times. Apparently, they couldn't grasp the fact that you lift up on the tongue of a trailer, you can hook it up to the truck. They need to rest in place using the jack with no other effort. What's an 800-pound tongue weight? Am I right? They did have a darn good catering, though. Yeah, I'm sure they didn't. Peachy says she has a great Army versus Air Force. I think we all do, and again, it's one of those things. We pick on each other because we care. We understand that the role of everybody in the military. We have the Marine Corps. We have so they do a lot of the same stuff the Army and the Air Force does. We have the Navy, who floats the Marine Corps to where they need to be. And truly, there's only there's only two jobs in the entire military anyways, infantry and support. So now I've really gone and done it. I've let my blue cord privilege get the better of me. Son of a buck. Anyways, thank you all for listening. If you're checking this out on the podcast, especially if you're on listen to it on Apple, I do ask for 4 things. Only 4 little things. Number 1, subscribe. You'll get notified whenever the new episode drops, either sometime tonight or in the morning. Then, rate it, preferably 5 stars. Like I said, there's that one dipwad out there who didn't even listen to the show and decided he's going to try to drag me. But hey, we gotta make up for bad people. The story of all of our lives. We're all generally good people, always having to deal with the consequences of some other idiot. And then, once you have that 5-star rating, drop a nice review. That way, as it pops up as, hey, you might like this podcast based on the other things you've been listening to. And then they read the reviews and go, oh, they like it. That person must just be hard to please. No, those people like it. It helps grow the base, And finally, the last thing I ask is, you share the podcast. Send it to someone who you think will like the podcast. Better yet, send it to someone who you think this will drive them completely bonkers up the wall. Because hate and discontent are good things. I like spreading hate and discontent. Peachy says, I expect us to subscribe when we're sober. Well, maybe. Some of us don't forget everything. Peachy missed number 4. Number 4 is you share it with somebody who you think will like the show, or you share it with someone it'll drive them completely bat-crap crazy up the wall, because hate and discontent are fun to spread. And that seems to be all that ever seems to get shared these days with anyone is hate and discontent. Just watch the news. Again, I also want to give a shout out to my buddy at Cedar Hill Woodworking. I find my ad copy here. Cedar Hill Woodworking, they have he does a custom laser engraving, and he builds like dice towers and stuff for the people who get in the tabletop games, the Dungeons and Dragons, the Warhammer 40K. He's got a 3D printer that he 3D prints the plastic characters. He builds the landscape sets. It's really cool, the stuff he does. You go to Etsy.com and search for Cedar Hill Woodworking. Check out what he has over there. It's really great work. Great guy to have helping out with the show. Again, also, the show is funded by fine folks like you. If you go to relentlessdaring.com, you will see at both the top and the bottom of the page that there is a link to donate to the show. Click that, and you can set up a one-time donation. You can set up a reoccurring donation. Either or, everything goes back into the show. With the help of fine folks like you, I now have a really nice pair of in-ear monitors that are way better than any headphones that I have ever used. Thank you so much. It's, you're also, working on some more software to help, better recording for the show, coming up with more merch and stuff like that. Thank you all so much. It's everything I do is because you all have made it possible, and thank you so very much for it. So, and as always, stay relentless.